Put your hand on my pants and jiggle my love tonight, darling. No, 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 no. Anyways, speaking of country music, no, oh, okay, this is a follow up from last night's clip where I'm having a slight difficulty of figuring out where to put this particular story because the story was written in a certain way and it just isn't kind of fitting, and there's too much there to lose, and there's parts there that need to be told for the narrative, but it just, I don't know. Essentially, in this, when you go through all this stuff, um, the the chapter, let's see, the Easter my father lost his basket and his place at the dinner table, not to mention his place in our hearts and wills. That story is the one in question. Um, because I'm trying. The way it was set up before is it went right underneath Gold Digger's Guide chapter, and you had kind of the alpha and omega. You had the beginning, where everybody loved Dale T, and then you had the next chapter, seemingly with no recourse at all why it happened, but everybody hates him. And I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of like that. Um, and then it goes right into the day my father's fornication destroyed us all. The day my father took off and abandoned me, leaving me for dead, with only a hope and a dream in our heart, and some old bologna in the fridge. And then he did it for the cupboards and the glory of Mordor's riches, which is then followed up by Ollie the Wonder Dog is no more, loss of a good friend. Now, all those, from the fornication to the abandoned with the bologna in the fridge, the cupboards, and the Ollie story, they all go together. Like, they're like a little packet of shit. They just go, it literally goes boom, boom, boom. At the end of each section, each chapter, it leads into the next part. Like, they lead in perfectly. And I purposely set it up that way. So, trying to shoehorn in the Easter my father lost his basket in between those is not going to work. So, it either has to go before or after. Now, I currently have moved it from the third chapter down to after the Ollie the Wonder Dog. Because there's two things going on here that makes it difficult to decipher where it needs to go. Because first off, it was never written to go anywhere specifically. So it kind of, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it doesn't flow. I don't think it flows as well as it should. It needs to be in there and it needs to be told, but certain things may need to be tweaked, and that's going to be the problem. That particular chapter, and it's probably one of the longer chapters, sadly. So I don't know about that. Because again, it was meant to be chapter 2, but the tone was completely out of place. Unless it was cool to do the alpha and omega shit, and then go and tell the middle of the story, which is that whole little grouping of stories I just mentioned. So I don't know. I don't know if we can do that, but essentially, I refer to her as the Hobbit. And from Gold Digger's Guide, I think she's mentioned, and everything straight down, she's in the Hobbit. And then right at the beginning of Easter Basket, which was supposed to be chapter 2, I explain why we call her the Hobbit. And it's like, yes, the Hobbit from Lord of the Rings, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if that fits 7 or 8 chapters down, and that might be a little bit out of place. Unless I took that one section and just shoehorned it in somewhere in Gold Digger's Guide. Which I guess I could. I could do that, but the problem is, the way it's written in Easter Basket is that everybody's upset with Dale T, and it's mainly because of his new main squeeze, and we'll just call her the Hobbit, is basically how it words. But again, that's like, what? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 chapters in, so that'd be chapter 6. and I'm just then explaining why we call her that. I don't know. Well, it's actually not really an explanation, but I don't know. I don't. I could basically probably just rework that one sentence, and then actually I could just say his new main squeeze, The Hobbit. Boom, and then take and highlight that part uh, where it says, "And we call her the Hobbit." Yes, from the Lord of the Rings. That section, and then actually probably could put it up with the very first time I mentioned her, because that should be in. That might actually work out better. Um, yeah, I think I'll have to do that. That might be the way I have to do it, because the rest of the story is, well, now by putting it number 6. Once you read about the fornication, he left us. Basically he left the house. Um, they killed Ollie, so on and so forth. Although the only problem with the Ollie story is that technically, if I'm being honest, that took place after Gene was asked to be evicted, which we haven't even got to that story yet. That's actually in part 2. Or actually, no, excuse me. It ends. That's how part 1 ends, and that. Oh, we actually talk about Ollie. That's actually a little bit. So actually, I kind of told the Ollie story like they killed him out of place, even though in the context of the way it was written, it's perfectly, you know, in there. But there's more going on behind the scenes, and then you start to hint at that in the Easter basket, because obviously he lost favor with the Graham and Jean. I still don't exactly explain how or why he fell out of love with them, um, but you kind of get it as it's going along, as the story's going along. Um, so it's kind of one of those things. It's not told, but you do get it. I hope you get it as a reader. See, everything else. What's pissing me off? Everything else except for that one fucking story, the Easter basket story, is perfect. And like I said, there's too much in that story to just cut it. So it's not going to get cut because, like I said, there's actual relevant information that needs to be told. It's just I needed to think about it before I wrote it the way I did. Although the fact I wrote it years ago and now I'm trying to shoehorn it into something that I'm doing currently now, that's where the problem comes in. Oh, and I hope that the rest of the book isn't like that. But I think if I change basically I think if I change that one sentence and then move the rest of it up into the other chapter, and it's only like a sentence, because I wanted to explain this is why we're calling her this. Boom. And like I said, I did that in chapter 6 after having called her that for the last 5 chapters. So it's just that's where I was getting a little fucked up. But yeah, it actually kind of works. Yeah, dude, the way this is set up, like at the end of a chapter, it'll say something like, whatever, 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 and then we'll go into the whatever, whatever, whatever into the next chapter. So at the end of He Did It for the Cupboards and Mordor's Riches, I literally end up with Wally will piss on the cupboards. Then I go in and talk about Wally actually pissing on the cupboards and losing Ollie. And then after that, it kind of goes into the next thing. The only real problem is that Ollie the Wonder Dog in Deconstruction, Reconstruction, Living in the House at Hellbelt, they should go back to back too. But I kind of shoehorned in the Easter basket there. Although I'll have to I haven't actually got to that, but I haven't reread it yet. So, actually, you know what? I could probably put Easter basket right before Dale T's handwritten letter to Jean. Unless, unless Deconstruction, Reconstruction, House at Hellbelt leads into the handwritten letter. which then I think leads into Happy Trails Hans, Jean's Last Day with Us. It's like I keep moving it further and further down, and it's like, again, I originally had it as chapter 2, but then after I read through it again, I realized that the tone was completely at odds with the chapter before it. In other words, it's giving away the ending, or not actually, not even close to the ending. They're just having a little displeasure with Dale T. They haven't even got into the we're gonna kick Gene out, we're gonna kill Ollie, we're gonna throw out the crippled retard. They haven't got into the good stuff yet. So I don't know. I'm gonna basically have to do deconstruction and reconstruct, which I'll do after I do this clip. But again, that might directly lead into the handwritten letter, which then will lead directly into Happy Trails Hans, Gene's Last Day with Us. So it's like I don't really know where to freaking put it. Because yeah, it needs to go before she's asked to leave, even though it's kind of the setup to it. It's like the setup to asking her to leave, and during that story, during that section, I think, wait, when was it? Easter? No, actually, okay, so this goes before she was asked to leave. So it's in a good spot. I may have to move it down one more space or two, but oh, it's so annoying because, like I said, the way I wrote most of it, it literally goes from chapter to chapter to chapter, and it actually makes sense. And I like the way that they all just flow, like one ends and it starts the next section, and then that ends and it starts the next one, and then so on and so forth. And so to try to shoehorn something in that was never meant to be in those areas, just ugh. I don't know why I'm having such trouble with this one particular chapter. I don't know. Like, okay, Dykes and Candy Corn Lights, and then Dumpster Diving Dykes, which, okay, again, I know you're going to get all liberal on that shit, but you can change Dumpster Diving Dykes, even though I do like the term. But you gotta give me Dykes and Candy Corn Lights. You can't take that one from me. Because, again, the whole Queen in the Handbag, it sounds so fucking stupid. No. The word has to be there. I know it's not something you're all into, but that one specifically, I'm going to fight for the end of fucking days. I don't give a shit. It just needs to be. But like those two go right together, and then it goes into because you got Dumpster Diving Dykes, or no, excuse me, you have Dykes and Candy Corn Lights. Dude, I just love the way that sounds. Dykes and Candy Corn Lights. It's where they're dumpster diving, and they took out the candy corn light, and it's just you got to give up on that one. That's the only one I'm gonna fight for. I swear to God, you can take out all the other bullshit. And I was a little potentially racist in a couple things, not meaning to, but like I used certain terms that were questionable. Fine, I will concede on all that. I will concede with that shit. But the Dykes and Candy Corn Lights you can't take away from me. And I prefer to keep the Dumpster Diving Dykes too, because that in and of itself paints a picture. You understand, Gene? You understand, Gene? It was like early in the morning. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and Gene had this woman. I don't know if she stayed there the night or what. I don't know what the fuck it was. And because you have to understand, in the story, the old woman basically said, "I think your aunt might be a lesbian." She started to laugh like I just did. It was just one of those things. And we were laughing together. It's like I don't know, who the hell knows. So, but then because you can understand the whole, because I go into the whole cabal of the lesbian poodle groomer thing, which I think I talked about one other time, but it really needed to be put here. It's absolutely hysterical, funny fuck right here. That shit is crazy. Because you can understand, there's the breeders. Because we're talking, they're going to dog shows and shit, like John Hurley kind of shit, Thanksgiving Day after the parade type stuff. And they're showing the dog, and they're prancing the dog around, and they're like putting him up on the table and grabbing his balls, that type of stuff, sticking a finger up his ass. It's all that type of stuff. And so you have the breeders who, because you can understand, there's three different people, there's three different groups here, and sometimes people like Gene are all three. So you got the breeders, you got the showers, and then you got the groomers. And some, like I said, sometimes people are all three. Gene was all three at one point. So she's breeding the dogs, and then she's showing the dogs, and then she's shaving their anuses and stuff. I mean, you gotta picture her. You gotta picture Jean just in general. Like middle of winter, she's upstairs in her bedroom, which is like right there at the top of the stairs. There's this big table. It's big and it's sturdy too. It's a sturdy fucking table. Like I could jump on it. 400-pound man could jump on this fucking thing. Like this thing ain't going anywhere. Okay. And it has this pole on one end. The end over that's facing. Again, you got to picture a long table. The end that's facing the doorway by the hall by the stairs has this long pole, and there's this like noose or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know if that's what they call it or whatever, but there's a noose on the end of it. And what they do is they hoist the dog up onto this table and they hog tie it. No, obviously it's not. It looks cruel and it sounds cruel, but it's basically just to hold the dog there, like a lead. And it puts the dog at face level as Jean would be standing because she's short. And just the look on her face. You gotta picture her fucking standard poodle up there going ballistic because the dog is just like shaking and like she doesn't like any of that kind of shit, right? Fucking dog is on Prozac for Christ's sake. And she's she's up there with those freaking electric scissors, those buzz cutters, and she's shaving the dog's asshole region. I mean, no, the actual fucking asshole. Like, imagine just taking a swipe of hair and goes zzz, zzz. Okay, I swear to God, you look at the dog's asshole. There's like this puff of hair, there's this bald skin head around the rectal, and then another patch of hair. I swear to Christ, it looked like Yankee Stadium on opening day. You know how they do the lines in the grass? So, like I said, you put all that in. You've got to give me Dyson candy corn lights. You have to leave that in there. I refuse. No, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't care how it is. That one has to stay. That one has to. I don't care. Anyways, I don't know why I'm telling you that fucking story again. So we got see, this is part 2, by the way. Yeah, because part 1 ends with Jean's letter to Dale T. Which I'm almost wondering. No, there's plenty. I was gonna say, what if I took Jean's handwritten letter and actually put it into part 2? Like, he asked her to leave, and then... No, actually, I like it the way it is. Because Dale T's handwritten letter to Jean, happy trails on, Jean is moving out. Then an anal reflection is it should be in more shit to come, whatever, and shit to come, and the shit to come, okay. And then there's Jean's handwritten letter to Dale T, which then leads into dumpster diving dykes, because we basically had rented the dumpster and we were throwing stuff out, and Jean saw the candy corn light sitting there that she had given the old woman at Christmas time to make her feel better, because my mother, for some reason, I don't remember, but for some reason, Jean got in her head that my mother liked candy corn. Now, I think my mother had bought a bag of candy corn. And fuck why, I have no idea, but she did. And she was mowing them down sitting there at the table in her living room watching TV. Jean comes in, sees her eating the candy corn, all of a sudden just automatically assumed. I think she was just, for some reason, like once in a blue moon, just was in the mood for it. Because that's how candy corns work. It's like, you look at them and you're like, in the back of your mind they taste like shit. They're not even good. That's the weirdest thing. It's like, they could literally take a pile of shit, put it in a bag, and say candy corn, and you're like, candy corn? It's corn and it tastes like candy, like Loose Black said. And you get it now, no, it tastes like shit. You know, it's one of those things. Well, for some reason, because she was out of it, she wasn't feeling well, and she just happened to be out there and saw it, and I was like, yeah, let's pick up a bag. What the fuck? And of course, you got them, you got to eat them, because why waste them? And Gene, like I said, popped in and was like, oh, you know, and then one thing I never talked about was the goddamn goldfish. I didn't actually talk about that. Gene bought my mother a fucking goldfish. And I don't know why. Yeah, this was like days before the old woman was about to die. She died, what, January 6th or 8th, whatever it was? And this was like right before Christmas. When that happened, the candy corn light. In fact, she gave it to her early December because she wanted to quote unquote feel better. And she bought her a fish too. She came home with a bag with a fucking goldfish in it. And she wanted it to sit there on the in the window right next to her chair. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the book. I don't think I even mentioned the goldfish. That Gene Buck wanted a goldfish. Because right around this time when she was asked to vacate the premises, all of a sudden the fucking fish is up and dies. So now you got the candy corn thrown in the dumpster, and then the fucking fish is dead. And it was just like a 1-2 punch, and it was. I may have to talk about. I may have to make a whole nother chapter on that shit. Yeah, because like a 1-2 punch is like, okay, the two things you bought her right before she died, you know, we don't give two fucks about. I mean, obviously going to try to keep the fish alive. Now the fish had been alive for a couple of years, so it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like we were being cruel to it and didn't feed it or anything. I don't know. But anyways, the two Dyke stories go together, which then flows right into the day Jean flips out, goes ballistic, loses her mind, and her poodle figurines. And that's when she actually leaves the house. Then we got the Committee of 3, no 4, wait, it's 5. That story, oh my god, I can still remember that story, dude. It's like, I'm thinking, it's like, it's in my head right now. It's like, I'm almost there, you know? Oh god, you couldn't pay me to go back to that time. Holy Christ. Anyways. Now, after that, the Uninvited, the Why Can't We Be Friends, the Uninvited 2, kind of like Metallica's Unforgiven 2, only with a point. I don't know how those flow together. Because Uninvited and Uninvited 2 was actually one big chapter. And I broke it up into two different chapters because I wanted there to be a transition from one point. Because if I remember correctly, and it's been a while since I read it, and I'll get to that when I get there, obviously. I'm still dealing with this other stupid story. But I think what happened was it told one part, and then because it was two different situations where there were uninviteds at the house. And I think I told one big story of two different events, and I broke it up into two different events instead of. That's why it's part 1 and part 2, kind of a deal. And it kind of works if I remember correctly. Although I haven't read through it again, so like the flow, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work flow wise, but if not, that can be tweaked. That's not a big deal. Then Deathbed Confessions, week I had pneumonia and nobody cared. That's a standalone story, but it fits right where it is. Because that's kind of like what's fucking great about the way this was written is there are precursors. Now, the whole Easter basket story is a precursor to the war with Dale-Team and Jean and asking her to leave. And then the whole Deathbed Confessions, the week I had pneumonia, nobody cared, was a precursor to them fucking me over. So, I don't know if it's going to play out perfectly, but in my head, it's brilliant. Okay, which I guess is like everything, but I don't know. Now I'm not saying I did anything specifically. Like I didn't. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a few things I did plan, and I think they turned out pretty well. Um, but the ultimate problem is I don't know. There's a couple stories that, like, terms of departures, not really even a story. Um, yeah, I don't know. But actually, let's see, there's in part one. There's this group of stories that go together. In part two, there's a couple stories that go together that like literally go from one to the next to the next to the next. And then in part three, yeah, the Peering Eye of Sauron and the Veil. I spelt Veil wrong. What was it? I-E-I-L-E-I? No, it's E. The Veil. I spelt Veil wrong. I spelt Veil wrong. What a fucking noob. The Peering Eye of Sauron, the Veil of Depression overtakes the Shire. The Piss Bottle, relieving thyself. Leaving the Shire for Brandywine, the journey begins. Going to the movies with the Hobbit. Going to the movies, Hobbits on parade. I always thought it was going to the movies with the Hobbit. That's why I said it that way just now, because I always thought that's the way it was. That's weird. It almost feels like an alternate universe. That I actually had it that way in an alternate universe. That is so weird. Going to the movie. It's supposed to be going to the movies with the Hobbit. Hobbits on parade. There should have been Hobbits twice in there. Oh, that is so fucking weird, dude. And I did not change that. Dude, that's like a Mandela effect right there. Holy fuck. It should be going to the movies with the Hobbit, Hobbits on parade. That is fucking wild, dude. No fucking way. That is crazy shit. That is super, super crazy shit. That is, wow, that's weird. Yeah, it should be going to the movies with the Hobbit, Hobbits on parade. Oh, that is so weird. No, that is weird. No, 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 no. No, and I have everything, so there's not like different versions of that story. This isn't like an early version or something, and then I said, oh, let me add going to the movies with the Hobbit, or let me take it out. No, 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 no. I did not. That's crazy. Dude, that's Mandela effect right there. Fuck you. Fuck this reality. Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't even care if it's one of those, oh, you misremember. Bullshit misremember. That's bullshit. Fuck you. Dude, that's weird. Oh my god, I can't get over the fact how weird that is. I almost want to change it back. Oh, that is so fucking weird, man. Okay, now I'm like completely fucked up. Um, yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Anyways, going to the movies, Hobbits on parade. That just sounds so weird. That just sounds so stupid. Going to the movies, Hobbits on parade. Was the movie about the Hobbits on parade? See, that makes no sense. Dude, that is a Mandela effect. Fuck you. That makes no sense. Going to the movies, Hobbits on parade. That makes no sense. Going to the movie with the Hobbit, Hobbits on parade. In other words, she was prancing around while we went to the movies. That was the point of it. Not going to the movies. Oh, there's Hobbits on the big screen. They're on parade. No, no, that's a completely different thought. Oh my Christ, dude, that is weird. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude, that is so fucking weird. That is so fucking weird. Because again, I had everything on that one disc, and I took everything off that disc. It's not like there's another copy of this somewhere. And I didn't change it. I know for a fact that when I was putting this all together, and I have the original copy. That is the original copy. And I know for a fact I did not title it that. Oh, dude, that is so weird. I can't. Holy fuck, that is weird. Yeah, it should be going to the movies with the Hobbit, because that was the whole point. Actually, I think there was a story where her and I went to the movies once. Like at the beginning, which is where it came from. And then Hobbits on Parade is in. the purpose was she was taking to the movie trying to, woo me over, and then she was just kind of like, on parade, like prancing around and being like, oh, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. That was the purpose of the story. Now, I did change that title from another, yeah, because that used to be, Jean's little fourth, Jean's little 4th of July fuck party in September. That's where the Hobbit going to the movies, Hobbits on Parade. That used to be that particular story. I basically took that story and put it with actually talking about the Hobbit stealing the old woman's movies. That I did change. I changed the title. I basically took the title from one chapter and moved it to another one, and then changed it. Whatever. That I know I did. Oh, that is just so weird. That is a legitimate Mandela effect. I swear to God. It's not misremembering. I'm telling you. Oh my God. Dude, that is crazy. Unless there's a fucking version somewhere that actually says going to the movies with the Hobbits on Parade, and this was some accidental one that I did like at the beginning. No, in fact, I know I didn't, because I purposely. I know I didn't. I didn't have two versions of that story. I know for a fact I didn't. So it's like there's two things that I know beyond shadow of a fuck doubt happened, and this right here is saying no, that shit didn't happen. Fuck you, dude. That's weird. But anyways, all that stuff. Let's see what's the next one. She said I pissed in her shoes. I love that concept. Which, if you read the titles, the piss bottles of relieving myself, and she said I pissed in her shoes, it kind of explains possibly what I may have done. Again, I don't confirm nor deny doing any wrongdoing. Just gonna throw that out to you. And one thing I did attest to is that I did not go out onto the porch, pull down my pants, and expose myself to God and nature and urinate on her shoes. I can assure you that did not happen. So, did I maybe do something else? I didn't. I have never to this point admitted to doing a damn thing. I'm just gonna throw that out to you. I didn't admit to doing shit. She said I pissed in her shoes. Oh my God! This, I don't think this. I don't know. It's weird because, like I said, in one of the other clips I did, book 3 I think is more cohesive than all the others because there's no filler. There really isn't any particular filler. Everything here is for a reason. Again, the closest thing to filler is terms of departure, but it's relevant because they asked me to leave, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to leave, here's what I'm going to demand you do for me. Okay, I'm going to demand you do these things before I leave. Yeah, there's a couple little. Let's see. There's terms of departure, which is my letter to them, I guess you could say. There's Cousin Ray's handwritten letter to Dale T about don't fuck me over, don't fuck Peter over. Then there's Jean's handwritten letter to Dale T, and then Dale T's handwritten letter to Jean. Those are probably really the only thing considered possible filler, but they're relevant. And again, what I did is I changed the font, and the way I type them out. Again, they may not be like they're not standard written text. Like if there's spelling errors or certain things, I try to transcribe it as best I could and made it look exactly like they did. So like if there's capitals, the words that aren't capitalized, like Dale T did, I don't know, the one Jean did. None of the I's were capitalized. None. It was all lowercase I with a dot. And that was a pain in the fucking ass to do. That was an absolute pain in the fucking ass because the damn stupid thing always constantly wants to make it capital. Oh my God, that was a dick in the ass. And that was like 3 pages long. I don't know what it is, like written text here. But she had literally 3 pages worth of shit. And then the spacing and the So it's going to be a weird little. It's not going to look like the actual format of the book, which is the point. Because like I said, I tried to get everything exactly the way they had presented it. Like Dale T's, I think looks actually really good because it's just, and it's only a couple words across. It's like maybe 5 words as opposed to like the whole sentence. Like you'd use the whole space, and it's this nice little compact little bloop 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 bloop. His is actually the best one, I think. And then Jean's is kind of weird, and then Renee's is kind of weird, and then mine, my terms of departure, is basically just a list, and then I had like a sign and date thing at the bottom because I was gonna make them sign and date it. Yeah, that's really the only filler. I mean, technically, I guess you could say the epilogue. No, actually, no, not the epilogue is not filler either. Um, Let me think. Let me just look through this. Um, yeah, really everything is here for a reason. Like, there's no Coleman story. There's no. I went through this before, but I don't know. Yeah, there's no actual filler, which is weird. That's really weird to me. Um, yeah. So, anyways, what are we at right now? Just out of curiosity. Where did I leave off? Alright, fuck that. I did add some words too. I was under 60,000. I'm now 61,205 words. I'm at 115 pages. Now, again, that doesn't include the table of contents, which is going to be at least 2 pages, 3 if you skip down. And then each chapter should be spaced out proper. So yeah, you're talking at least a good 120, 25 pages. I want to get closer to 50. And there's a couple that I want to add to. Hold on. I'm going through this for me. This clip is for me. This isn't for anybody to listen to. So if you want to listen to it, fine. I don't give a fuck. This is just for my own this is my own note taking that I'm going to post to YouTube. But whatever. Ollie the Wonder Dog. I would like to make that longer because it's not a very long story. And the Cupboards Mordor. That one's not a very long story either. That's maybe like 5 paragraphs, if that. Honestly, God, between those 2 chapters, they should almost be sub-chapters. I don't really want them to be sub-chapters, though. I mean, they could be, I suppose, if they had to be. Well, if that's the case, then shit. I guess. Then I guess. Let's see. The Day My Father's Fornication Destroyed Us All would probably be the main chapter, and then a secondary chapter underneath that, like a subchapter, would be The Day My Father Took Off, Abandoned Me, Leaving Me for Dead, with only hope and a dream in my heart, and some old bologna in the fridge. He did it for the cupboards, glory of Mordor's riches. Ollie Wonder Dog is no more, loss of a good friend. I guess those would all be subchapters, technically. I don't know. I'm gonna try to bulk it up a little bit. I want to see if I can add to it. Trying to think, because everything's kind of fucked up right now. Because I've got little tidbit stories that I could shoehorn into some of these just to make it a little bit longer. But I don't remember if I talked about them in other chapters, and if I did, then you're talking about the same thing 2 or 3 times, and I think that happened. I think there's a couple sections where I talked about the same shit a couple times, which is okay, especially at the beginning, especially the Gold Digger's Guide and the Easter Basket one. I think there's a couple spots that I talked about twice, but you get different perspective of it, so it's not horrible. I don't know if I want to do that too often. In fact, I'm not sure I want to do it at all, but it's just the way it's written, and I don't really want to have to rework everything because I like what's there, and I think it flows fairly good. It's just it's like, oh yeah, remember the story? Well, here's some more information. You know, again, I don't want to do that too much, but it might work too. So I might be just overthinking that. Like that's the thing. A lot of this stuff could just really be good, but it's like I'm over. Well, I'm thinking it. I guess that's what I just said a minute ago. But whatever. Um. Oh, let's see. Do 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 do. Like right now, I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to go through the whole thing and add like some more humorous stuff, like changing certain words, like Dale T sat there and watched the TV. Okay, it's not very funny. You say Dale T sat there in his underwear playing with his nuts. Okay, that's a little more funny. Like I'm trying to do stuff like that. I don't want to do overkill with that either, but there's a couple places where I'm. Well, let me go through. Hold on. Um, Going out to dinner with Dale T. That one got a little dull in a couple spots. Not a big deal because it's not really a long chapter, but there might be a couple places where it's a little. It needs a little kick in the dick. Let's see, Gold Digger's Guide. That one. That one's telling the story, so I don't know if it's fornicating. My father's fornicating almost destroyed us all. Whatever. Or no, the day my father's fornication destroyed us all. That I think is pretty well okay. The old blowing in the fridge. He abandoned us. I think that one's okay. He did it for the cup. That one's too short. Ollie's too short. The Easter basket one is okay. Um, I'm gonna do the deconstruction reconstruction right now. Dale T's handwritten letter to Gene, which is in and of itself. Happy Trails, Hans. Gene's last day with it. I think that one is fairly decent. The only ones that I'm not sure about, I like Candy Corn Lights and I like Dumpster Diving Dykes. I think that's good. Committee 3-5, that one's good. Uninvited, again, I'm not sure about that one. And then the sequel. And then Why Can't We Be Friends? I'm not totally sure about that. Deathbed Confessions, I think, is a decent story. Day of the Hobbit Cries Fall, I think, is good. The Homeless Guy, my father loves the homeless guy more than me. I think that one's okay. Could maybe use a little bit of humor in there. The one on Half Naked Man in the kitchen, arm and elbow deep jar of pickles, saying, "Hey, is there some sort of greedy?" I think that one might need a little bit of work. What Hobbits in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas. That one, I don't know. That one I think is pretty. I think that one's funny. If I'm not. Again, I want to add the humor to it, so I think that one might be okay. I mean, obviously, I think more humor is good, but you don't need it in everyone, if that makes sense. Dale T's Little Fucking Inferno is not funny at all. It is not meant to be. A Little Oink Fucker of a Man, I don't remember that. Whatever. Renee's handwritten letter, Dale T. There might be some humor in there based upon just the whole idiocy of the story, but it's not obviously meant to be funny. Grandma's upset and she ain't having it no more. This is when she kind of turns on Dale T. What's this one actually kind of harkens back to? I think that might be part of where I retold one of the sections. I could be wrong on that. The whole Easter basket story. I think those two kind of go together. Whatever. Then there's Dale T. Oh, Dale TV, like Prime TV, only dumber. I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember if that's funny or not. Terms of Departure isn't got no humor in it, except for if you realize that I'm fucking with them. I mean, obviously, then it's kind of funny. Gene's Little 4th of July Fuck Party in September. That is actually very funny. I like that one. Or at least the concepts are funny. Whether I wrote it funny, I don't know. But there's humor in there that could definitely be. You could squeeze it like a little sponge, I guess you could say. Piss Bottle Relieving Thyself. That's actually not funny. The concept is funny. Leaving the Shire for Brandywine, The Journey Begins. I don't remember if that's funny or not. I don't remember if there's any like really humorous moments in that one. Going to the movies, Hobbits on Parade. That's not all that funny either. But they all don't have to be funny either, so it's kind of a catch-22. She said I pissed in her shoes. That just the title alone is funny. She said I pissed in her shoes. Making it safely to Brandywine, meeting Graham Dolph. The Fellowship must decide what to do going forward. Again, that one can be tweaked, but you get where I'm kind of going with it. I'm trying to remember if there's anything funny in that. And then of course Graham and the trip to BK with the big whaler, which just Graham and the big fucking whaler at BK is in and of itself is funny. So yeah, there's definitely some funny moments here. I don't know how you feel about it because, like I said, this book is completely different. I purposely try to make it different because you got the first book, and then the second book is almost relatively the same thing, which is why I like the way it played out. Because again, it's a sequel that's just more and I think slightly better because it's a little more coherent. I think not coherent, cohesive would be a better word. Where book one really wasn't cohesive. There was a few moments where again we talk about childhood stuff, and then after that it was like, but most of it was school stuff. Like the first 7-8 chapters were school stuff. And obviously rightfully so. But then the rest of it kind of went like, oh, here's the dog, here's the old woman, here's DOT. Just random shit thrown around that really had nothing to do with anything. It told a greater narrative, but they didn't really go together. Like, oh, I'm going to talk about DOT, and then DOT's going to pick up the old woman, and then we'll talk about the old woman, and there's a chapter there. It wasn't, it didn't flow properly. Well, I think there's a little bit better flow with 2. I could be wrong. I could be completely out of my fucking head. But yeah, with the exception of this fucking Easter basket story, there's some good flow in this book 3. Book 3's got great flow. It's got very good flow. Now, I don't know what else to do with that. So I'm actually kind of happy with that because, like I said, there's no filler in this book. It's just it is what it is. I'm shooting for 150 pages, maybe a little more, give or take. Hopefully a little bit more. I'd rather have a little bit more than a little bit less, but whatever. Yeah, because basically book 2 had a flow, but there was also moments where it was like, oh, here, let me tell you about this one, and let me tell you about this, and let me tell you about that, and blah, 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 blah. But there was like an actual chronological order, where book 1 did not have a chronological order. The first half did. Then everything after that, Big Daddy Clark, so on and so forth, that didn't have chronological order. Because, well, I mean, maybe to a point, there was certain sections that did, obviously. Like I'm not going to talk about, well, actually, I'm trying to think. No, I mean, again, the beginning had chronological order, but then after we got out of high school, it was just like a free-for-all of fuckery. Where 2, I think, had a decent chronological order, if I remember correctly. But yeah, 3 is completely chronological. Again, with the exception of this fucking story here, this whatever. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Is there anything else I want to go over? Because again, I'm going over this in my own head too. So, I will say I do like the Easter basket story down further than having it be chapter 2, unless it was okay to do it as chapter 2. Again, Alpha and Omega type stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if I like that. I actually like it better in its actual placement. Because again, the reason I'm saying that is because there is so much chronological order that it was kind of an interesting little twist to take one section and not make it chronological. So in other words, like I said, you've got the beginning and kind of the end, and it's just only for the first section. It's not like, oh, we're having a good time, and we're having Christmas with Betsy. Next thing you know, I'm living with a grand. It wasn't like beginning and end of the whole book. It was more beginning of end of just section 1. And it actually wasn't even a total end. This was more of a mid-road. So it's like you got the beginning and then you got the mid-road. And then everything that happened leading up to that was told after. I mean, that could kind of work, and I kind of like the idea, but I don't know if it worked, if you get my meaning. It could work, but I don't know if it did work. So that's kind of the problem. Um, yeah, I probably have to make another clip of this because I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with it. But I think if I just change that one sentence and then move that one section around, I think it'll be okay. Because it's kind of a standalone story, but it does have tones of Jean and Daltine not getting along. So there is a placement for it. Like you have to find the right spot for it. So, anyways, I think that's all I'm gonna do for right now. I think this. God, a fucking hour talking about that. Seriously. Yeah, this is it's weird because it's kind of fun. It's frustrating because it's like I don't know what to do, but it's fun trying to figure it out. That's what I like about this type of stuff. To me, this is the most fun part about it. Is just trying to figure out what to do. Can I change a few things again? If I think if I just change the one sentence and then move the one section up to earlier part, I think it'll work. I mean, it might not work. I don't know. No, actually, it will work. It'll work at least better than what it is currently. Because again, I explained why we call her the Hobbit. But doing it chapter 6 is not good enough. We need to do it like chapter 1 or when we first mention her. So, whatever. Anyways, that's it. Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't know if you enjoy. See, I don't know if you enjoy these kind of clips, but I'm just posting it for my own personal benefit. So, like, if anybody randomly just clicks on this, like, oh, let me listen to this, and it makes no sense. It's just I'm working through my book basically, and I don't know what to do with a particular chapter because it was written at a certain time. It was actually written years ago, and I'm trying to not shoehorn it in because it was part of the construct of the book. It just doesn't flow with what I did currently, and I'm trying to make it flow in with what I have, and there's enough there to definitely go out of the way to try to make it happen, but actually getting it happen, that's the problem. Because even if I do fix that one little section, the whole thing feels like it's a little bit off because again, I wrote the current stuff to go basically boom 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 boom, almost like bullet point, like each chapter's a bullet point in a way, where one leads into the next, where this one is kind of a standalone, and there's nothing wrong with a standalone story, but it's part of the flow, it's part of the ones that flow together, and so it doesn't flow, if that makes sense. It's part of that grouping, but it wasn't written, integrated into it, and that's the problem. So, anyways, I'm done. Fuck you.